everybody, it's Matt the Dice Checker. I'm joined by Jenn, the board game librarian. Today we're going to talk about a game that is coming soon to Kickstarter called Bardwood Grove. Why don't you give us a little more?
So this is a game for 1 to 4 players, 90-minute playing time, ages 14 and up. It's going to be published by Final Frontier Games, and it is designed by Carl Van Ostrand. Hopefully at this point, too, I've already edited and uploaded our interview with Carl. A disclaimer that Carl is our friend, so this is going to be totally biased. So, we're not going to talk about how the game plays, because I'm sure there's tons of videos that are already out there. So we're going to talk more about our impressions, why you should back this, and why we think this is, as Carl would say, uniquely awesome. So we got to play with Carl last week, and Matt creamed our butt.
Guess I did.
You did.
I did. So, do you want to start with what the uniquely awesome is? And I think for me, that's the theme. This is about, you're all bards going around and doing what musicians try to do throughout their whole life, which is get the most victory points. But what you're doing is you're playing songs and going to locations to get those victory points and becoming famous and getting fans, and in many ways it's just like a rondel deck builder, I would say. So that's what's uniquely awesome for me is the theme. I still don't think that I've played a good music game, and it's hard. I think I tried to design a music game once, and I got too bogged down in the details of it being a music game that it was boring. You know, music theory is a boring subject for people who aren't musicians.
It's very mathy, so our Euro fans would totally love music theory. It's like a puzzle. So the entire time we were playing, I kept feeling like, and I, for the life of me, can't remember his name, the piano player in the 1800s. That the women would...
Franz Liszt?
Yes, Liszt. I felt like we were Liszt. Like...
he's notoriously famous. I believe he's the one that finally turned the piano sideways for the concert, and he would come out and he'd take his gloves off and he'd throw them to the ladies in the front. They'd all swoon over. So
I totally felt like that in this game, where we were, Liszt going around, dangling our white gloves all over the place and just being totally awesome. So that was... I felt like there was a lot of theme in this game. So from our interview with Carl, Carl has a music background as a drummer. His son is also for being a young lad, also very accomplished. Matt is an accomplished musician, and I'm a musician. So how did you feel this game played as a musician?
It was really fun. I would say more than anything, as far as the theme goes, it was a lot of fun to be able to capture that. We've got, I think Carl says in the interview, it was nice putting the bards center stage. And the show The Witcher helps a lot, because I think when we watched The Witcher the first time, I'm like, this show made the bard cool again.
It did. And Aslan has joined us, our singing bard cat, and is yowling. So a bunch of things that I really like in this, and the 90 minutes I think is probably more for the 4 players.
Yeah.
And if you're AP prone.
So how the game works is you have a player sheet that has a round door, and there's a rune on it, and it points to a certain section of it's in quarters. And you have these cards, and the card tells you how many quarters to move the door around.
Quarter notes?
Yeah. And how many... and then you have how much volume you can gain, because the louder you are, the better. And it also tells you when you land on whichever quarter you land on, tells you how many spaces you can move. And the different locations are going to activate based on how you play your song. So when you draw your hand, you have 2 cards in your hand. One you're going to play to move your rondel. The other you're going to play into your song, and that's going to basically create a long chain of of abilities that you're going to be able to do.
It's your staff.
Any cards that are fans get placed into... They don't get placed into the song, but you get an ability, but they immediately go into discard and you draw again. If you have a blue card, that's an improv, and that goes into the song line, and you draw again. So there are some ways that, yes, people are like, you only have 2 cards in hand. Maybe. You're probably going to be drawing more as the game goes on. And once you've gone all the way around the rondel, then you'll play your song based on where you are. You'll get points, or you can buy stuff. And that's all about where you are on the board. And then there are 2 halves of the game. The first half has a bonus filled with victory point tokens. The second half has a bonus filled with victory point tokens. Once that all runs out, the game is done. And you even if you haven't or won't be able to play your song, you'll still get to play whatever you have out. And then when that happens, whoever has the most points is the winner, which is me.
See, even Aslan's offended by that. All right, bye, cat. So one of the things, there's a couple of things which I think folks are going to go, oh no, there's deck building aspects? Oh no, I hate deck builders. And I think the greatest criticism that folks have to say about deck builders is that when you purchase a card, that it goes into your discard pile, and you may or may
not ever see it
not
again.
ever see that card.
Oh, this is right, yeah.
But what Carl has done is, after you purchase a card, it goes right on top.
Yeah. There's only a handful of other games that do it.
Yeah, I don't quite know why. But you're going through your deck very frequently, too. And you are singing a lot of songs.
Yes.
But then, depending on how you are drawing how the cards are drawn, too, you have the ability to play with the tempo of your song. It's gonna be my description in the YouTube thing here. Jenn makes corny music puns. Woo! Matt is not. Yep, clearly not amused. So you can make your song longer sometimes by playing with how much tempo, how fast or slow you're going. So I liked that a lot too.
Sometimes you are kind of forced to play a tiny song.
Yeah.
But you might, because there's an economic system in the middle of the board, and maybe you're just looking to get a few new cards in your deck. So you just play a nice little tiny song, and you're building the deck up. What I did was I bought a lot of those blue cards throughout the game. So I was playing long songs, which is pertinent because I'm an organist, and we never stopped playing Bach wrote songs that were way too long. So there we go. And a lot of it comes down to I kept finding these pockets of blue cards that kept coming into hand, kept going out and comboing off each other.
So a lot of the game, the turns can move very quickly. Again, if you're not AP prone, or when you're drawing your cards, you can basically do that on your off turn and make the decision. But those are like your prep terms, your practice time. And you are... That's cringing. It's okay. It's okay. They're going to love it.
That's where the microphone is.
Oh, even better. And then you're moving around the board, setting yourself up for what area you want to activate. So when you're in an area and you sing your song, you are able to activate multiple locations, too.
Yes.
It's like you're standing...
You're in a quadrant.
Yeah. You're like the town troubadour, and you are projecting and able to do lots of different things. You can purchase cards, get fans, trade things in for other things. You can go fight soothe monsters that become part of your tableau.
There's also this really neat thing where if there's a resource that if you don't spend, you can move your boat up a river.
Yep, your apprentice.
And basically at any time when you really need that specific type of resource, you can spend it out from up there, which I thought was really neat. It's just, I'm not wasting this. It's just saving it for later. Yeah,
so each character had a special ability as well. So there's a little bit of asymmetry here. I don't know if you've played Merchant's Cove.
It's not as asymmetric as Merchant's Cove.
No, definitely not. So that has been... Carl scaled that back here. This is really, as Carl said in his interview, a medium-weight Euro game. So it falls right in line with what else Final Frontier has published, I would say. So if you're a fan of their
their heaviest was the Robin Hood game, but I haven't played Coloma yet.
No, that's one of the ones we haven't played. So, what are the things that you liked best about this game, Matt?
It like you said, turns are quick, especially if you're not playing your song. And even when you do play your song, if it's long, you've been thinking about how you're going to plan that out. So, playing your song and it's 8 or 9 cards long, you've already thought about what you're going to do. So that even that goes quick if you're not prone to AP. And I think that Carl put a lot of time and care into names of places. Or somebody at Final Frontier and Carl worked together to put, work into the names that they made it so musical. I think the other music games we've played have focused so much on, I think the one that comes to mind is Symphony No. 9. I can't remember the name of the company. They did it best where you're backing a composer, actual composers. Other music games have focused way too much on the how to play instead of just the playing of the instrument. And that's where this really shines, is you're just playing a song. You haven't had to sit there and compose it, you're just getting cards to play it. And that's where I think it really shines. Because music's not easy to translate.
It doesn't seem like it has been. I love the art style they've chosen for this. It is part of the Five Realms universe, as Carl had said in our interview, that it purposefully rhymes Merchant's Cove, Bardwood Grove. Yay! I'll be curious if they continue that along in their other games. So why should people back this, Matt?
First off, if you're a musician that's been dying for a great music game, this is it. I am not... Even if I didn't know Carl, I probably would have backed it based on the fact that it was a music game. And that it took a different approach to it. I think it's smooth.
Yeah.
It's very smooth. Carl says it's a medium weight game. I'd rate it around a 2.5, maybe 2.7 out of 5 for weight. It's definitely lighter than, to me, it's lighter than Merchant's Cove. I know Carl thought this might be a bit heavier, but after playing it, I actually felt this was lighter.
I'd agree, because I think if you sit down to Merchant's Cove every time and you are learning a new character, that right there is potentially
tough,
challenging for more folks. A bunch more characters too as part of the Kickstarter add-ons. I think Carl's been working on those. I'm not sure that we are able to say what they are.
Nope.
But there's going to be more content too that you're going to be able to unlock. We don't know what the price point is at this point.
Not at this point, no, but it does launch on
tomorrow.
On the 13th.
Again, excellent artwork by the Mico. I think we have that finally correct. Because Carl, I said Mico. It's not the Mico, it's the Mico. So, and I thought the graphic design was pretty easy to understand after.
Yes, great symbology. And that's always a plus for me, is how many times do I have to look at the rulebook to figure out what this does?
Yeah.
Well, great one. It really is. It's really nice and easy to understand. There may have been 1 or 2 locations I needed to be reminded of once, but after I had that, it was pretty smooth.
There's some player interaction, but I think especially in a 2-player game, there's not going to be as much player interaction. You and Carl ended up in the same area of Bardwood Grove quite a bit and ended up taking the badges from each other.
So there's this mechanic of taking badges, and I guess it's kind of like sharing credit with other musicians. But you are, and you can turn those badges into things that help you through the game. And just sometimes player interaction is not automatically take that.
So there's not, especially if you're going to play a 2-player game and 3-player game, I was kind of scooting around the other side of the board, mind my own business.
You were soothing a lot of creatures.
Yeah, well, you were soothing a lot of creatures. I was doing a lot of the, telling a lot of
Oh yeah, you were doing the epics.
The epics.
Yeah.
That's, for my particular character, that's what filled in. So, of course, we have to say that this box cover may not be final, the images that you've seen may not be final, the components may not be final. You're adults! You can adult and do this. It's awesome. You can do it. We know you can. So, I'm excited for this to launch, for you to see it all. Any final thoughts, Matt?
No, back it.
All right, excellent. So, Bardwood Grove on Kickstarter now, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Do the things.
Love the things.